Hello and welcome back to Microsoft's Flight Simulator. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this. This is the Just Flight PA-28R Arrow 3, of course, for Microsoft Flight Simulator. For those of you who have been subscribed to my channel for a while, you will know that I have flown this aircraft quite a bit in X-Plane 11. So I'm going to be taking a look at this aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today I'm just going to be taking a look at it as it is in Microsoft Flight Simulator, not doing any direct comparisons with X-Plane 11, but there will be a video in the future in which I do some comparisons with X-Plane 11. This aircraft is available on the Just Flight website for £30, so you can convert that to whatever currency you have in your country if you're purchasing this from outside of the UK. And I'm just going to take a look at the detailed specifications of this aircraft, see what it's like. As usual for my reviews, I will spend the first video just taking a look at the actual aircraft in depth, trying to see maybe what the modelling is like, the texturing, any bugs I can find with that. I'll start the aircraft up in this case, since it is an easy aircraft to start up. We'll look through the checklists, and I'll start the aircraft up, we'll listen to the sounds, and then in the second part I will take it out for a flight so we'll get a good feel for the physics. So make sure you stay tuned for part 1 and part 2 of this review to see what I think of Just Flight's latest offering for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, here we are on the runway at Coventry Airport, Echo Golf Bravo Echo, which is a scenery that I've actually taken a look at not so long ago. So I did take a look at the scenery, but we are not looking at the scenery today. Today we are of course looking at this aircraft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through the system requirements first, and then I'm going to go through the detailed description, and then we will take a closer look at the aircraft in a few moments. So of course $29.99, as I mentioned, £30 in the introduction. System requirements for this aircraft: we need Microsoft Flight Simulator, not FSX. I know some people do still get confused. This is for MSFS, not FSX or FS10 or any other previous edition, MSFS 2004, so FS9 or things like that. Does that make MSFS FS11? I'm not getting into that at this particular moment in time. For the processor, I'm going to give you recommended specs. It requires an Intel i5-8400 and an AMD Ryzen 5 1500X as recommended, 16 gigabytes of RAM, an NVIDIA GTX 970 or an AMD Radeon RX 590 graphics card, and of course Windows 10. For minimum requirements, if you think you do not have those, which I think a lot of people who do flight simulations should have at least those, but just in case you do not, particularly on the RAM, 8 gigabytes of RAM is the bare minimum for this. For the processors, an i5-4460 or a Ryzen 3 1200, and for the graphics card, a GTX 770 or a Radeon RX 570. So pretty old graphics cards right there. So if you have anything that's newer than that, you should be okay. I would say that if you were running on something like maybe a 1060, you'd be pretty good. 16 gigabytes of RAM I do recommend, and I think a lot of people with flight simulators are certainly on i5s or i7s. I think an 8th gen i5 or i7, or I think a Ryzen 5 certainly is there. So that I think is recommended, but I would probably recommend an i7 if you could get one, or a Ryzen 7. Is it Ryzen 7? Yes, Ryzen 7. Anyway, there we go. You also of course need a joystick or compatible game controller and 1 gigabyte of hard drive space. Very quickly going through the detailed description. This aircraft is based off Golf Bravo Uniform Kilo Uniform, which is the aircraft that I've actually got the livery in. It does have 11 liveries. I believe that there are 4 in the United Kingdom, 2 American liveries, United States that is, 1 Canadian, 1 French, 1 Swiss, 1 Australian, and 1 German livery for this. In terms of the model, of course, it's accurately modelled off a PA-28R 201 Arrow 3, both from aircraft plans and of course the extensive photography that they have done. Plenty of animations including passenger doors, baggage doors, storm windows, sun visors and oil covers. The ground equipment, of which you can see the chocks and the tie downs, excuse me. Tie downs right now. There's also a tow bar at the front, but you cannot see it from this particular angle. 4K texturing, so we're going to be taking a look at that, which you can see from this distance. It does look very, very nice, very highly detailed. PBR, physically based rendering, which you can actually see there, so the way the sunlight is hitting it, the reflections, and particularly if you look there, that looks like the sunlight's hit this the rear, the tailplane, and then that is bouncing up and reflecting on this, which is something that really adds to that realism. So that is really nice. And detail normal mapping for down to the rivet precision of the aircraft surfaces, which you can potentially see just here where they look kind of bumpy, but they are not. Or even along here you can see bumps that are not actually bumps, they're flats, but we will take a closer look at that shortly. Inside the cockpit, I suppose we'll get to the inside the cockpit afterwards, once we're inside. Aircraft systems, we do have a custom coded fuel system with the option to have automatic switching of the fuel tanks for use on long distance cross-country flights, which is something that I have used before in X-Plane 11. It is quite useful. Custom coded electrical system with functional circuits breakers, realistic landing gear system with emergency and automatic release at low air speeds, functioning alternate air and static source controls, failures including spark plug fouling, limited battery life, vapor lock and more. Lighting system includes separate lighting controls for the instruments, and realistic implementation of navigation lights and the radio lights. Functional electric trim on the yoke, which requires the electric trim button to be pushed. A functional ELT, which is automatically triggered above 4.6G, and a number of other details, such as vibrating engine exhausts. In terms of the sounds, of course, this is one thing where I'm going to be really judging this against X-Plane 11 because of the differences. But there is an MSFS native sound package taking full advantage of new capabilities. Every little detail has been faithfully recreated with the original engine samples, detailed physics-based engine, effects on the engine and wind noise, authentic audio for all the buttons, the switches, the electrical systems, accurately positioned 3D sound sources, apparently best enjoyed in VR, custom crash and scraping effects, I hope I do not end up trying those, and authentic retractable gear whistle. In terms of flight dynamics, it says the Arrow 3 features realistic and accurate flight dynamics based on the real-world performance and handling data and input from Arrow pilots, and of course there is a comprehensive PDF manual with a panel guide and a flight tutorial, as well as an ODM, which is an operating data manual with performance data. I will not be using those in this test flight. I know this aircraft decently enough to be able to fly it around without having to use any of the manuals. So there we go. Now let's take a closer look at the outside before jumping inside and seeing just what we have. So first things first, let me take a quick screenshot over here because that does look pretty nice. So just take a quick screenshot and then I will switch off the focus mode. There we go, so that we can take a better look at this. And let's take a look at this aircraft. So first things first, as I mentioned, you can see there, look at that light reflection. So it's bouncing off the wing, and then you've got that reflection in the paintwork of the fuselage, which is really nice. I thought that was coming off the rear, off the tab, but it isn't. That does look really, really nice. Over here you can just see all of these surfaces. This is actually a flat surface as far as I'm aware, as far as I can see. But you can see that it looks bumpy because of the normal maps, which is really nice. This part isn't flat. These channels are actually modelled, but this surface here is flat. But that is what a normal map is there for, and the realism there is lovely. In fact, just look at the sun going across that, and you can see where the light is being caught at different angles. That's really good. Right, let's take a look around the front. There's the tow bar that I was talking about. Anything else that we've got? That there looks like the oil inspection cap. So there's the oil inspection cap. Engine looks really good. Nose cone, sorry, not engine, but propellers look really good. Nose cone looks really good. High details all the way around. Nice vent there. Again, more on the normal mapping to give it that sense of realism all the way around there. I have no idea what that is. Is that a static port? No, that's one of the ports. I have no idea what that one is. Now, I'm going to take a look here for the pitot tubes, because I remember there was a mistake on one where it had 2 pitot tubes, one on either side. So there shouldn't be one on this side, which there isn't. But there should be one on this side, which right here, there it is. So that's really nice. You can see here we've got the hinges for the flaps as well. I've never noticed that in X-Plane. Can I drop the flaps? I should be able to drop the flaps, right? Apparently not. Okay. For some reason I cannot drop the flaps. I thought they were controlled. Are they hydraulically controlled? I thought they were just on cables. Never mind. But the aircraft overall really oozes quality. That it just looks really nice. You can see the different areas that are open over here. Looks like that's a step here, so you can step up there. And I'm assuming you do not step onto that. You step directly up here and into the aircraft, because it does say no step. Take a closer look here. Pretty good quality on the carpets as well. Obviously you're not going to be looking back here too much, but that does look pretty good. The writing is a little bit blurry, but once we're inside I want to see what it's going to look like from the inside. But that is pretty well done all around, and of course that is what I expect from Just Flight. Let's take a look inside now and we'll see just what we have. So if I go ahead and go into the cockpit, you can see here, first of all, okay, I hit something. First of all, you'll see that this is the EFB, which you can switch on and off just by using this button here. So this is the EFB, which has plenty of information, so we can reset a bunch of things. There's the flight info. Let's go through, in fact, let's go through the bits and bobs for the inside. So a truly 3D virtual cockpit, right down to the accurately modelled seats belts and screw heads. Well, there's the seats belt, and let's take a look at a screw head. There's a screw head. There you go. Every instrument is constructed fully in 3D with smooth animation, so we will be checking this. Cockpit textures feature wear and tear, as you can see, based on reference photos taken in the real aircraft to produce an authentic environment with optional clean textures. Now, I really like clean textures, so I want to see where is there an option in here for clean textures. I'm assuming not. No, there isn't. I would like an option here that maybe would allow us to have clean textures. That would be great, but I'm assuming we then have to just copy over the texture files into wherever the right place is, so that we get a nice shiny new aircraft. Dimmable instrument, radio and dome lighting with separate control circuits. So we'll check that. Tablets EFB for controlling various aircraft options. There we go. So instead of the click button on the side on X-Plane 11, we have this tablet. So for example, if I wanted to get rid of the chocks, tie down as tow bar, close up the doors, there you go. Oh, that does sound nice. Remove the yokes if I wanted to, or bring the yokes back. Of course, you can just click here to show and hide the yokes. Both of them work in the same way. There's the timer. on the yoke, as you would expect. And on the tablet we do also have different modes here. So we've got the maintenance, and we also have the aircraft state, so we can have it ready for takeoff, ready for start, cold and dark. So at the moment it is in cold and dark. Persistent aircraft states, so you can always return to your cockpit in the same state that you left it. Automatic fuel tank switching for use on the long distance cross-country flight, so that is this switch here. So that we can have in off, so it will swap that between left and right automatically if which one? If that there is selected. We also have GPS unit selection, so we have, if I just take a look over here, no, stop that. Over here we can select between different units, so as long as I can see it. This is currently the GNS 530. This is what I'm used to in X-Plane. We can have the GPS 100, which is just a basic GPS unit, and you'll see the nav controls move over onto this side. Or we can have the GNS dual, so you can have the 430 and the 530 like so, or we can just have the 530 like that, and you'll notice that it moves different things around. Now, one thing that I have found is that when you do this, and this is a weird one, it moves this up, and it sort of, can you see how that for some reason is now hidden? Now I think that that is a bug that perhaps needs to be looked at. Let's get rid of that yoke. So unfortunately that seems to be a bug, because you can see there it is pushed down nicely. There it's all pushed down all the way, and then it brings it up, and it brings this up, but it doesn't bring this up for some reason. So you've got this gap right here, which I am not too keen on. So I may try and just use the dual. I should be able to use this. I've used it before, so I should be able to just use that and handle it, or either that, or I'll just use this. In fact, let me just use this, because I'm not going to be using the Garmin unit. I'm just going to be using nav 1, nav 2. So I will do that. We can also switch over here between a DI, direction indicator, or HSI, horizontal situation indicator. So we've got that there, or I can press that there, and you can see that suddenly it changes. So we have a HSI course, which does also, as you can see, turn the nav 1 OBS, because it is plugged in to the same thing. So I'm just going to leave on the DI. The HSI doesn't really matter for me. Of course, we've got the aircraft failures, as I said, the flights computer, which you saw, and we have all the IFR capabilities. So we've got our transponder, our ADF unit, our DME unit, our nav radios, our Garmin units, etc. And the yoke-mounted flight timer, which once we start the aircraft up in a moment, you will be able to see. It says it has also been developed using the latest MSFS standards, including intuitive and easy-to-use controls for rotary knobs, multi-position switches, and levers. So let's see what this has. Looking inside, texture-wise, it looks similar to... It does look similar to X-Plane 11, although everything is a little bit more shiny, and you can see the real-time reflections, which is where this actually does shine. Pun not intended, but Microsoft Flight Simulator does shine in these sorts of situations. Any bugs that I've noticed? Well, slightly there again with the press test, and that still hasn't been fixed since the old X-Plane days. It isn't too much of a deal in here. I think it was more of a deal in X-Plane. It was more pronounced, but the rest of it looks really nice. I do not recall this in X-Plane though. That looks like Velcro. There you go, and you can see the stickers there, the way the sticker's been put on, and the little sticker peel, which I'd like to get rid of. I'm hoping that the clean textures gets rid of all of that. I'd like it to all look really pristine, because that is how I like things. So there we go. This aircraft must be operated as a normal category aeroplane. aeroplane in compliance with the operating limitations stated in the form of placards, markings and manuals. This aircraft is approved for night IFR non-icing flights when equipped in accordance with FAR 91 or FAR 135. There we go. Right. So, how do we start this aircraft up? Well, let's have a look at the way the checklists are in here. So we do have a bunch of different checklists, and you can see that all of these are ticked because this aircraft started up. This aircraft actually started in a ready for takeoff mode, so I've actually switched it off. Let's get rid of that because I think at this point in time we are not going to need it. So there we go. We will switch it off and we will start the aircraft up. So parking brake is... that's off, that's on, that is set. Gear lever, selector, check. That's up, check down. Avionics are all off. So this is really a very simple startup procedure. So make sure that's off, that is off, 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 that's off, that is off, that is off, that is off. There we go. Avionics are currently switched off. So we'll just do, how do I check these? Tick. Tick, tick. Mixture is lean. Yes, it is. So, ooh, that is a little bit more sluggish than I was expecting that to be instant. So that's me already. So I'm going to bring that all the way down to 0 now. That takes time. Same with the mixture. That takes a while. Right. I'm just checking all of these to make sure they're. So I'm not sure if that's going to give me. That lag, it's almost like turbo lag, isn't it? I'm not sure if that's going to give me problems. Mixtures are lean, magnetos are off. Fuel quantity, check. Let's see. Oh, fuel quantity, check. I'm going to have to switch on the battery to check this. Yep, that's fine. We have plenty of fuel. I didn't check the battery switch on. Annunciator panel, check. Yeah, we do not need to. That's just this over here, which is fine. So we'll switch the battery off again. Flight controls free and correct. I've already done that. Flaps check. Now this is the interesting one. There we go. Now the flaps work. For some reason before they were not working, so they are okay. Great. Elevator trim is neutral, so we check that down here. Now I have no idea how I'm supposed to move in this particular aircraft to take a look at my elevator trim. There we go, that's neutral. Baggage door closed, job done. Go to the next page. We've done all of the outside. Engine start, here we go. So circuit breakers all in. Well, that one isn't. Landing lights for some reason was popped out. There we go, so they are all in. I'll reset that page. Alternate air is, come on, tick item. Alternate air is oops, that's on. That's off. There we go. Propeller RPM, we're going to bring that all the way to the top. And we're going to pick the fullest tank. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pick the left tank. There we go. Engine start. We have a cold engine at the moment. So we'll do this. Open the throttle. Now this is standard. So open the throttle about 1/2 inch. Battery switch goes on. Alternator switch also goes on. Beacon lights can now go on. We'll have, let's see, fuel pump needs to go on. Navigation lights also. How am I going to reach the navigation lights? There we go. That sounds different to X-Plane. We'll also switch on some of the interior lights. I would much prefer... we can scroll on this, okay. That sounds really good. That really does sound good. Right, so the auxiliary boost pump is the fuel pump there. Mixture rich until the flow peaks, so we're looking at the flow over here. And then cut off, so we'll bring the mixture up. There's the flow that's come up. That came up kind of suddenly. And then back down to cut off, so essentially priming the engine. And then we're going to start the ignition. And as we start the ignition, I'm going to put the mixture up to rich. There we go. Adjust the throttles for 1500 RPM. Ooh, it's a little bit wobbly, isn't it, in this aircraft? That is pretty interesting. Oh, I'll be honest, I've seen real arrows. I've seen real Piper aircraft, not arrows, Cherokees. I'm not sure they wobble quite this much. But okay, oil pressure check. So now we can just go through all the checks. But I really do not have to do that. So pressure's fine, temperature's coming up. Altimeter, we've got good electrical power. There we go, with half a tank. Manifold pressure's nice and low, 1500. Auto EXT. Oh, that's. Why was that up? Okay, so there's a slight toggle problem there. Auto EXT is off, so that's flashing. That's different. Doesn't normally flash. So we can just go through to taxiing. We do not have to do taxiing. So this is where we are at this particular moment in time. Let's take a look before we actually take off. So let's take a look outside at the aircraft. I'll actually switch off on these lights, pitot heat landing lights, so we can have a good look at everything outside, and we'll check this at night as well before I end this video. That is actually a lot of movement. A lot more movement than I was expecting. Hang on, is that not 100% sure if that's accurate. Which I also do find funny. I know Just Flights are probably going to say, why are you picking out bugs like this? But that's what I do. Up close, that doesn't seem to be showing any light. And then also, if we move away, something really odd happens. As this is shaking around, that looks like it's staying still. Or it's got a delay. That is a little bit odd. That movement is a little strange. Let me release the parking brake. No, that okay. I wasn't expecting quite as much movement as that. But we shall see. We shall see just how this aircraft goes. Let's change the time of day. Just get a good look at what this aircraft looks like at different times of day. So landing lights really nice and bright. Strobe lights doing their job. I like the reflections on the ground here, or the emission of the lights on the ground. I would have also liked this to be a different flash pattern, but that's okay. Nothing I can really do about that. And yeah, that's pretty good overall. Oh, that sounds like wind from the propeller. Surely it shouldn't be pushing this around that much. Also, just trying to work out why I do not have any authority on the... I have no authority on this elevator. Nor do I have any authority on... Oh, it's because it's in showcase mode, isn't it? So I have no authority on it, of course. Let's go back to... I don't know, this sort of... There we go, early morning. I will jump out of here. There we go. Yeah, I have authority on this. Just double checking. There we go, that's pretty good. Okay, so at that point I think I'm going to end this video. So I've just shown a few things off. In the next video I'm going to take off. We're going to do a bit of a flight, and then we'll see. I'll bring it in for a landing, and I will give you my final thoughts. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on Microsoft Flight Simulator, and of course part 2 of this review. So far it is as good as I would expect from Just Flight, which is basically fantastic work overall. If you can do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/ecgadgets. Your supports would be massively appreciated. It would really help me out. And also you can find me on social media at ecgadgetlb for both Twitter and Instagram. That is all from me, and I will see you next time in Microsoft Flight Simulator.